Welcome back to Tocqueville Talks. I'm Brent Nelsen, and I direct the Tocqueville Center at Furman University. And we're in the midst of a series of episodes that come out of the retreat that we had in early April up at Asheville, up at the Crowne Plaza Resort in Asheville. And we've heard from students, and we've heard from Rob Larive, a Furman professor in political theory. And of course, I'm here with his spouse, Beth Larive. How are you doing today, Beth?
I'm really good. Still basking in the glow of the conversations that we were able to have at this amazing Tocqueville retreat.
Yeah, and I'm still, we're a couple weeks out from the weekend that we spent together, but the students are still talking about Friedrich Nietzsche.
That's amazing.
It is amazing, and I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled that they're wrestling with the issues that we've been talking about. We have a podcast today that I was the, interviewer on, and so we gave Beth a break on this one. It was recorded during the retreat, so it was after one or two of the sessions, and I gathered 3 students at each time, and it was very interesting to hear their reactions to what they were hearing, kind of real time.
Yeah.
They come from a variety of backgrounds and different classes, and so they're wrestling with it in different ways. So I think they were interesting vignettes of what was going on at the retreat, and I hope you all enjoy the interview. All right, we are here in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're at the beautiful Crowne Plaza Resort. It's a resort. I really like that part. And I'm here with 3 of the Tocqueville Fellows. We're really enjoying our time here. I want them to introduce themselves first. So Laura Grace, introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, my name's Laura Grace McSwain. I am a sophomore at Furman, and I am a history and environmental and conservation biology double major.
My name is Mary Christine Helms, also a double name. I'm a senior at Furman, and I'm a classics and psychology double major.
My name is Zach McComb. I'm a sophomore at Furman. I'm a politics and economics double major.
And Zach, you only have one first name?
I have 2 middle names. So I don't know, but I only have one first name.
So it's Zachary what?
Zachary Clyde Gerald Lacombe. So thanks. Appreciate it.
You are clearly of a noble pedigree.
Right,
yes.
Exactly.
And we are here.
That's what my mom
This retreat here is about Friedrich Nietzsche. We're all reading that 19th century German philosopher, and our guide is a professor named Paul Wilford, so his name will probably come up. He's from Ohio State.
The Ohio State.
The Ohio State, yes. I just want to open with this question. You 3 have been Tocqueville Fellows for a while now, and you've been hearing about the retreat. MC, you were at last year's retreat. Were you at last year's? No, you weren't.
Not a fellow
so
yet,
Zach wasn't a fellow yet. I know Laura Grace wasn't. But so we have a veteran and we have 2 rookies. What were your expectations coming into this weekend? Laura Grace, you want to start?
Sure. I was expecting a lot of kind of dialogue that has really proven to be something that we Tocqueville Fellows are quite adept at least. And just with the group of people that I knew was going to be here. I confess I have not read very much Nietzsche, so for me, this was just an opportunity to confront my own ignorance in that respect. So, yeah.
Did you have any preconceived ideas of Nietzsche before, just from the culture, absorbing things?
Yeah, I think I had heard the quote that we had talked about, which I might get wrong, but it's God has been murdered,
or God is dead.
God is dead, and yeah. we are the ones that killed him. So I had heard that, and I think that kind of is what my preconceived notion was.
Mm-hmm. MC?
Yeah. Last year we got to kind of do like a Tocqueville boot camp, so I was kind of expecting this to be a Nietzsche boot camp, which I think has played out pretty well. I really enjoyed that. Getting to like deep dive into just one particular like text or corpus is always my favorite part of these retreats, because I love that intense focus, and you don't get that in a lot of college classes. So I always love the opportunity to do that with a bunch of people who also love to do it. So we're all enthusiastic and willing to participate, which you don't always find, which is really nice.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I like how Professor Wilford keeps us grounded in the text. I think sometimes fellows have a tendency to kind of, veer off the path a little bit, which he allows, but I really like how he always ties it back to Nietzsche. I only had a little bit of experience with Nietzsche from one of my politics courses here, but when we're doing these readings, I really feel like I can digest everything he's saying, because we stay grounded in the text. But we still have enough, leeway to go elsewhere and explore other ideas, but it always comes back to the text, which I think this experience with Professor Wilford, it's great bringing him in for that.
Mm-hmm. Has there been one idea or one conversation that has kind of grabbed you? We've only been here less than 24 hours. We've had 2 sessions. But is there something that has really, may have shocked you? Something that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. After discussions about aristocracy, I see it everywhere now. I was actually more in like the economy from an economics perspective. I don't know. I was kind of deliberating whether we value people based on like a paycheck, so you get more money. Like there's a ranking, a hierarchy to payments, right? Like salaries and everything. So I kind of, that's some small microcosm, but I'm seeing more of aristocratic tendencies in our democracy, which I didn't really see before. And that's kind of coming to light and unnerving in some ways, and then in other ways, it does actually make sense. Yeah.
So ranking,
like some sort of hierarchy that we as Americans are like, oh, we're all equal, like created equal, like we, want equality, but we've created these hierarchies for ourselves. So I think there's definitely an inherent contradiction there that particularly Nietzsche's writing expounds on and explicates more. Yeah.
Well, and he favors ranking, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The democracy is made up of the herd, and that's not a very good thing. But how about you all?
Sure. Yeah, I think like the idea that you only have like true greatness through suffering. I think my kind of natural tendency as an individual, just based on like my background, is to try and prevent the suffering of others. And so it's interesting, I guess, to think about like, by trying to prevent suffering of people around me, or even of myself, am I then preventing those people and myself of actually having the opportunity to achieve greatness is something to think about. And I have been thinking about.
Yeah, the idea that if you achieve your goal, which is to alleviate suffering, you eliminate your reason to live.
Right, yeah.
Or reason to work. And, that's interesting, but it does seem to go against everything that we've been taught about where our values ought to lie in the helping of others and loving of others.
I guess I kind of have a pessimistic view of that we will never truly be able to eliminate suffering, which is something that makes it difficult for me of like, oh, if we eliminate all suffering, well then what is our purpose in life? But I don't think it's possible for us to eliminate all suffering, so you're always going to have, at least in my conception, a purpose moving forward.
Yeah. MC?
Yeah, with Nietzsche, all I'd ever really heard was God is dead and we've killed him, and nihilism broadly. Mm-hmm. So reading some of the things of what he says about love is very interesting. I find that I disagree with him because he talks about both unconditional love as being one of the most important things, but also love as passion as being one of the like defining aristocratic urges, and one of the things that like inspires you to those sorts of actions, to aristocratic actions, which I think that those are contradictory. I don't think unconditional love and passion are the same thing, because passion, the whole definition of it is like fleeting. Passion doesn't last you throughout a lifetime. Unconditional love is what lasts you throughout a lifetime. So I'm interested going forward with the retreat to see if we do square that anyway, but I have never heard Nietzsche talk about love before, so I've really enjoyed getting to think about that and explore that.
When you go back to Furman and people ask you, how was your weekend? What is the one thing that you would take away and convey to your friends about this weekend? Or is it just impossible to describe the whole thing?
Well, the food's good.
That is not a bad thing.
No, it's a great thing. I mean, it's one of the reasons I came to Furman. No. I think we need to look more introspectively. I think we judge very quickly, and we can lie to ourselves and say that we don't. But I do think, like we've been talking about this with Nietzsche readings, it's instead of just going and trying to refute some of the things he says, actually taking it and comprehending it, and then making judgments on it after you really understand the crux of all his arguments, like taking the time and dedicating the effort to do that. I think we should do that more with other things you read, other people, other experiences we have, like really reflect more, and then actually use that reflection to kind of drive our actions. I think is not to get too philosophical, but
you can have a more purposeful critique if you actually like understand or give credence to the argument. Whereas if you're just initially dismissing it based on like a face value criticism, then you might not have as like a well-crafted critique that could potentially like move people forward in discovering more knowledge, I guess you could say.
I think my takeaway is more about like the form of the retreat than the content, because like if I go back to Furman, I would probably tell people about how much I enjoy, like it's almost like this idealized like snippet of liberal arts, like how I want all of my college classes to be. I get to experience it in a very like full way on the retreat. And so I, again, like I said earlier, I always love that and look forward to that. Like getting to do things the way that I envisioned college would be, which college has had many valuable things for me outside of what I envisioned it to be, but it's nice to see it play out in the way that I expected and play out in such a good way. Beneficial for my education, I think.
Well, to pull a couple of these strands together, and for me anyway, this is what education is all about. The idea that you examine yourself and your motives, your purpose, and you have a chance to articulate that in a safe environment when you can make mistakes or you can try new things out. For me, that's valuable. Even at the end of my career, it's still valuable to do. So I appreciate what you all have said. Okay, well, thanks for being here. And thanks for participating. It's been great.
Great.
Right.
Thanks for
Awesome.
bringing
Thank you
Yes.
for having us on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Okay, we are back in the lobby of our resort here. And so if you hear some music in the background, it's because Maddie is playing the radio. Now, so we have 3 more students here, and I'll let each one introduce themselves. Just give us your name and what your majors are and what your class is. So Maddie, why don't you start?
Hey, I'm Maddie. I am a current junior. I am a double major, politics and history, with a double minor as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a junior, right?
I'm a junior. I
guess
said that.
you said that. Yeah, okay. And Michael.
Yeah, my name is Michael. I'm a senior biology major on the pre-med track.
All right, and I'm Carissa. I'm a senior English and religion double major with a medieval and early modern studies minor.
Great. So we're to the last day, And I don't know, I'm disappointed that we're leaving already. But we've got another session to go yet. But up to this point, what is your one big takeaway from this weekend?
For me, I've always looked at morality through the lens of my faith. I've seen one direct, true version of morality, and I've seen everything else as just defined by human nature of various people, types, and cultures. And he points out that there's master morality and slave morality. For me, I found it interesting because I thought there was only one type, and also found it interesting how he presents Christianity as inducing a transition from master morality towards slave morality.
Is that upsetting to you? Or you see the point?
I can see his logic. I can see the logical patterns throughout his argument. It doesn't really bother me that much because I think it even more reinforces the mission of Christ in this world, which is, if you look at the example Christ set, laying down your life for people who you love. I think that version of morality is more in line with the way the Bible presents morality to be. And for me personally, that only kind of reinforces faith. It also reinforces human nature as well, because we see how humans have perverted a lot of things, and human nature has led to awful things happening throughout the world.
Carissa, what do you think?
So, I've known people throughout my life who value suffering as kind of a means to self-betterment, and who also value like submission to great things, beautiful things, true and righteous and holy things, beyond just like religion. Well, beyond just submission to God, like submission to a church, or like doing things in service of art and beauty. And in the past, I think I've seen that like valuing suffering and desire for submission as something almost masochistic. But understanding Nietzsche a little bit better, I'm starting to get a picture of it where I see how it can be ennobling. That kind of like lowering oneself or accepting suffering, or even like taking joy in hardship. Doesn't have to be like because you hate yourself. It can be because you see the potential for yourself to like make a greater impact and for your life to have a greater meaning. And that those can be like valid means to kind of really come closer to that meaningful life.
Okay, Maddie.
Well, I guess I'm also going to talk about morality, but I do see that in the Christian perspective. I've also, when reading and understanding this better, I saw that in history and how people will subject themselves to something because they believe it's something for good, or it's something for the better of everything. And I've seen how that plays out in history through world wars and through civil wars and through just skirmishes and battles in history. Conflicts, it could be actual fighting, or through papers and through studying what people had written regarding their beliefs and how they, I guess, how they focus themselves so deeply, import themselves so deeply into what they believed that they were willing to die for what they stood for.
Do you, as a history major, feel like Nietzsche, who valued history, at least part of his value of history was that there are great people in the past to emulate. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're looking at? Those people who sacrificed themselves?
Mm-hmm. I am, and again, I'm trying to take a neutral perspective of, okay, even if they were wrong in what they did, they believed that they were doing good. I'm not going to try to imitate them or go in that direction, but I do kind of believe, I do think that what they thought was good, I just try to find the good in what they were doing, and it sometimes isn't for the best, but.
Well,
there's examples, but
Can you make moral judgments about what they did?
I guess you can't. You can make personal judgments and then also moral judgments about what was right, what was wrong in your heart and for them. And yeah, not the smoothest answer, but just it gives more thought into what history is like.
Has anything about this weekend changed your life?
it's definitely made me more open to reading new perspectives on things, especially Nietzsche. I've never read Nietzsche before. I've always thought of him as just something that was completely not useful to me. And I'm curious to see what y'all have to say on this, but my lack of exposure to him before and versus reading him now, he presents very valuable perspectives from a different perspective than we all came from originally. And I think that can be very valuable in today's world. It's hard to have people who articulate what they believe very clearly and cleanly. And Nietzsche, I feel like, does a good job of doing that. We can disagree with him, we can agree with him, or somewhere in between. But at the end of the day, if you can communicate your ideas and your thoughts vividly on paper, I think that should be praised and celebrated.
Yeah. I think Nietzsche has a lot of really valuable and clear insights about like the particular virtues that our age overemphasizes that can become vices when too much is sort of focused on them. But I also have a hard time disentangling his idea that you can have like morality that needs to stand apart from other types of morality around you. You can have beliefs and values that are valuable partly because they are completely like your own and not just informed by your surroundings. But at the same time, like I have a hard time seeing how you can also believe in an objective morality, because Nietzsche doesn't, right? He believes that like truth, comes from power. Whoever is the strongest is going to like enforce their morality on others. And so I personally don't know yet how to incorporate his idea of strength into my life when I also believe that I need to look outside of myself for values, for moral judgments. So yeah, I'm going to be working on that maybe within myself for a while, because I like the strength and the power of his ideas, but I don't like the idea that they have to be sourced from inside oneself exclusively, or not exclusively, but I just don't think that his framework has room for objectivity.
I'm wrestling with his distinction between the great and the herd. Because we are all like sheep. And he would say that's a terrible thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need a shepherd to direct the sheep, and that's an external thing. And I think he would have a hard time accepting sheepness.
He can see that.
He wants to be the great one who comes up with the moral framework that then is imposed on the sheep. And that gets to then, well, what is that moral framework and what should be incorporated in there? I will say, though, that I think one of my biggest takeaways is this understanding, at least his understanding of what it means to be great, and also to know how rare that is. And I've liked very much Dr. Wilford's ability to admit that he's not great, he's mediocre, and so am I. And I can be fine with that because I'm not called to that kind of greatness. I'm sure Nietzsche would hate what I just said.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's a practical nature to this as well.
Okay, well, we're going to have to...
You never asked me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maddie, go ahead.
Well, so keeping this brief, but for some very similar to Michael, but I am very much open now to Nietzsche. For context, I did read him in high school and threw the book across the room because I was like, this guy is crazy. I hated him. And confusing, but through Dr. Wilcox and everything that we've discussed here this weekend, I still don't like him, but I am more open to understanding him, and I'm more open to I've always been open to other ideas, but open to actually understanding what he was trying to say and trying to be like, okay, where was he coming from? What was trying to make up the world around him, and what was he trying to do?
Okay, well, good. On that note, we will end this segment.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Tocqueville Talks. This episode was produced by Audrey Enghauser. Lucy Southwell provided administrative support. The theme music is called The Girl I Left Behind Me, a popular folk song in early 19th century America, here performed by Jacob Taylor Armerding. To learn more about our lecture series and events, our Tocqueville and Beaumont Fellows programs for undergraduates, and to listen to episodes, watch event recordings, or support our work, search on Google for the Tocqueville Center at Furman University. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share Tocqueville Talks on all your favorite listening services. And visit our YouTube channel for full recordings of past events and episodes. Until next time, goodbye.